The Department of the Environment, Community and Local Government is the lead department for severe weather emergencies, and the Office of Public Works has responsibility for capital flood relief activities. However, DSP has an important role to play in assisting households in the immediate aftermath of emergency events such as flooding. The scheme is administered by the local community welfare service staff, and it's available to assist affected householders following severe flooding. The income test for humanitarian assistance is significantly more generous than that which applies in the case of means tests for social welfare schemes generally. The basic principle of the income test is that individuals and families with average levels of income will qualify for assistance. So, for example, a family consisting of a couple with 2 children with a gross household income of €70,000 or less will receive 100% of the amount allowable in respect of their application. A reduced or tapered level of support can be provided in cases where such families have income over €70,000. The Government has not set a limit on the amount that can be paid to an individual household under this scheme. The levels of payment depend on the relative severity of damage experienced and the household's ability to meet these costs, ensuring that the funding is appropriately targeted. In dealing with the emergency events of this nature, the Department generally adopts a 3-stage approach. Stage 1 is to provide emergency income support payments in the immediate aftermath of the event to cover needs such as food, clothing, toiletries and fuel. Stage 2 generally involves the replacement of white goods, basic furniture items and other essential household items after the flood water abates and the houses have dried out. And then Stage 3 is to identify what longer-term financial supports or works are required. And these can include plastering, dry lining, relaying of floors, electrical rewiring and painting. Householders seeking assistance under the scheme are being advised to contact their local Department of Social Protection office, who will be able to offer assistance. The Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine has put assistance measures in place as well for the farming community in respect of animal welfare and fodder aid. In the case of farms, support can be provided under the Department of Social Protection scheme towards the family home.
I should thank you for coming as well, and I should, I suppose at this stage, put on record our gratitude to the public servants generally who have gone above and beyond the call of duty, not just your own department but the Department of Defence, various emergency services. You know, I mean, this country has gone through fair devastation in the last month, and indeed I'm thankful to my colleague for bringing up the issue of the fishermen. It's something I didn't think about, and they must have suffered. But a local county councillor has contacted me, and the issue he brings is analogous to some of the other stuff that has been said. The cost of running pumps. He adverts to one individual that had 6 pumps running. The person is self-employed, will not qualify under the means test, and I would also agree with Senator Daly, or Deputy Daly. There should be no means test where that sort of devastation is concerned. Family lives are destroyed. That's not your issue, that's more an issue for what goes on in here in Leinster House. But the cost of keeping pumps running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week during a crisis like this, in actual fact we're penalising the person who saves their home purely because they wouldn't qualify under a means test, and secondly they've gone the extra mile to keep pumps running and to keep their house dry. Entire families have had to literally abandon their jobs to keep the house dry. And simple things like the cost of running the pump, simple things like compensating them in some way for lost income. I do appreciate what you're saying, and I, like Deputy Daly, know the community welfare officers do go overboard to try and assist people in every way they can. But sometimes your hands are tied, and I guess what I'm asking, if there's a question in all of this, what I'm saying is there some release or some methodology that you need us to push forward here on your behalf in order that we give you a little bit more flexibility in dealing particularly with those who will not qualify under this means test system, or particularly those whose only cost was the additional fuel they had to buy in order to keep pumps going. I'm horrified at the means test thing. I have seen the devastation of flooded houses myself, and it's pretty frightening stuff. And I'm glad to see that there is something there for landlords. Not that I'd be a great favourite of the capitalists of this world, but it's the people that are living in those accommodations. I'm mindful of the sign in the middle of the lake down in the Midlands, sale agreed, planning permission for 98 apartments, so there'll be a lot of that sort of stuff around the place. But just on that, is there something that we need to do here that will give you more flexibility, and particularly on the issue of the, have you had requests on the issue of the means test that you've had to turn down?
Senator Crockwell, the pumps, the cost of running the pumps. In a lot of areas, the local authorities are providing fuel to man the pumps. If that is not feasible or it's not happening for some reasons, yes, people are coming to us and we are paying for fuel, we're paying for increased heating. Bord na Móna are delivering briquettes to houses to try and ensure that houses are continuing to be heated. In some cases, some of the replacement emergency accommodation, it's a new house that somebody's gone into, hasn't been occupied for a couple of weeks. Fuel tanks are being topped up and paid for there through the humanitarian scheme.
Interrupt you for a second, I'm sorry. If I come looking for fuel cost straight away...
Senator, through the Chair.
Sorry, Chair, yeah. If I come looking for a fuel cost, will I be means tested or will you just provide the cost of fuel for me?
We would look at each individual circumstance. If it's an emergency and you need to keep the pumps going and you do not have the disposable income available to you, we will meet those costs. And we have met those costs, Senator, throughout the country in various instances already, particularly, as I say, for the practical needs like the dehumidifiers and the emergency kind of needs that need to be put in place. But each case is decided on its merits. But again, if members of the committee have particular cases that they're concerned about, please bring them to our attention and we can look at each of them. Sorry, but the 235,000, Senator, is just the beginning. And for the initial 270 households, we have not received complaints to date. The feedback that we're getting from the public is they're very pleased with the reassurance that the staff are giving to them. And as Deputy Harrington has said, yes, the staff are proactive. They're calling to the families. We've set up the emergency clinics. Some people are not in a position yet. They don't know what they need, but our staff are ringing them back and just checking in with them to see how are they doing. We've had experience of these floods over quite a number of years, and our staff, particularly Susan, for example, has experienced the 2009 flooding. A lot of families were referred to counsellors via the HSE because of the trauma of watching a family home that could have been in the family for generations destroyed. And we are working with the HSE, with the local authorities, to try and meet the needs of people as they arise. In 2014, for example, 1.2 million was provided under the scheme to 480 households. And again, the payments differed depending on the need. Just on a pure division out, that works out at about 2,500. But it could be 10,000 for some family, it could be 20 for another, depending on what was destroyed, depending on their own capacity to meet the need. But I do want to get the message out here that that 70,000, that is not a cap. For anybody that you come across in your work as public representatives, please ask people to apply and to come and talk to us, not to be assuming that they are not going to receive benefits. Even for somebody that's self-employed, who has not been in a position to work, our Supplementary Welfare Allowance Scheme is there to assist people with their needs as they arise.